Now, global warming and sea level rise. If you look at this cartoon, what are they implying? Are they implying that if the temperature continues to warm, that sea level rise will flood out Santa? Let's think about this for a second. Santa lives where? The North Pole? Well, you should know this because it says North Pole. But is there land over the North Pole? Again, you should be saying, oh, no, there's not. There's just ice over the North Pole. So then why would Santa be building a house on the North Pole? Unless maybe he's an ice fisherman and this is his ice shanty, and that's why he's flooded out. Now, global warming and sea level rise. One of the most significant potential impacts of climate change is sea level rise. It may cause flooding of coastal areas and islands. As global temperatures increase, sea level rise is expected to accelerate due to thermal expansion. And thermal expansion is the idea that when water gets warmer, it expands. And we're actually going to do a lab in class where we're going to take a look at thermal expansion and what it can do to sea level rise. Now, here's one of the graphs that scientists will use to argue that climate change is happening. And this looks at the annual volume of sea level rise as well as cumulative volume change. So you can see that over the time, the ice pack, it'll go up, it'll go down, and that's a certainty. But the whole volume as a whole seems to be shrinking. Now, over the last 100 years, the global sea level has risen anywhere from 10 to 25 centimeters. And you might ask, well, why is that? Well, or you might ask, why is it anywhere from 10 to 25? Don't they have a set number? Well, you got to remember, the Earth is dynamic. There are some places, because of earthquakes, things like that, there are some lands that have sunk. There are some land areas that have risen. So to try and figure out exactly what the sea level has done it's hard to do. Now, a recent EPA, and that's the Environmental Protection Agency study, estimated that a global sea level has a 50% chance of rising 45 centimeters, which is about a foot and a half, by the year 2100. But a 1 in 100 chance of a rise of about 110 centimeters, which is over 3.5 feet. So you can see that, there's only a 50% chance that it'll rise a foot and a half. So scientists, they'll use models, they'll use things to predict what it might happen. But if you ever see any report where they say it will happen this, or it will go up by this many inches, yeah, I'd start to question it, start looking at the source and see what's happening. Now, one of the things that we can take a look at is one of the impacts of sea level rise and the global temperature getting warmer and the Earth's oceans warming up is the Larsen B breakup. Now, the Larsen B ice shelf is roughly the size of Rhode Island. And this ice shelf broke up within a matter of months back in 2002. And up to this point, scientists had never seen anything like this happening. Now, here's something to think about. If the ice pack was to melt over the North Pole, answer this question for me. Would it have a significant impact on sea level? And if your answer was no, you're right, because over the North Pole there's no land. So the mass is already displaced. But in Antarctica, there's land underneath the ice. So anytime ice melts here, it tends to go into the oceans, and this tends to impact significantly the sea level. And here we are taking a look at the North Pole. I am using these notes via Google Docs, and the animation's not working here. But what it basically shows you is that things are going to fluctuate over the months and over the years. So sea level, the ice pack here over the North Pole will get larger, will get smaller. And what scientists are fearing and what seems to be indicating is that there seems to be less and less and less ice cover over the North Pole. Now, you may have heard about this in the winter of 2013-2014 because of this thing called the polar vortex. It seems that we've been getting a lot of cold temperatures here in the United States because of what scientists call a polar vortex, and they think that is in part due to the shrinking ice mass over the North Pole. Now, how significant is this sea level change? What kind of impact will it have in the United States? Well, here's a map of the southeast United States, and you can see Florida with a 1 meter rise, and they're not predicting a meter for quite some time. It may take several hundred years to get to this point. And you can see that it'll be some flooding. But if we were to if we were to see an 8-meter change in sea level, most of Florida would be gone. So that's why people are concerned about sea level rise if it is indeed happening. So here's the annual sea ice minimum. And what this does is show that the ice minimum, in other words, during the warmest part of the summer, when most of the ice is gone, they'll measure it and see how much is actually left. You can see that it'll go up and down, and that you've seen that over and over with climate. Things will get hotter, things will get colder, things will get hotter. But if you were to look at an overall pattern, you can see that it definitely seems to be decreasing since 1980. And if we look at the global average temperature, as the average temperature seems to be rising, the sea level seems to be rising. There seems to be a direct correlation. And here's an indirect correlation where when the global average temperature seems to rise, northern hemisphere snow cover seems to go down. So, well, it's an indirect relationship in the sense that when one goes up, the other one goes down. But there is a direct connection between the two. So what can you do to help with this idea of global warming and climate change? First of all, use less energy. Scientists are saying that it's our energy uses. It is putting all this carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, is enhancing the greenhouse effect. Simple things like tuning up your car, insulating your home, using energy efficient appliances all help conserve energy. Things like purchase items with that are reusable, recyclable, or reduced packaging could help. Using alternative energy sources such as hybrid cars, which use electricity from their batteries along with gasoline for power. They're all easy and excellent choices to help the environment. But the bottom line is we really don't know what's going to happen with any degree of certainty in the future. So I guess when it comes to global warming, if you were to ask me, is global warming happening? I'm going to look at the data and say yes. I'm a scientist. I'm a math teacher. The data seems to suggest that global warming is happening. Now, the other big part of the question is, why is it happening? That's what you're going to have to figure out what to do. As a teacher, I'm going to give you the facts. You decide. Is it happening because of humans? Is it a natural climatic change? And that you're going to have to decide for yourself. So, as always, if you have any questions about climate change, global warming, I'll do the best I can to answer them. But ultimately, the choice on whether you think it's due to human impact or if it's natural climatic change, that's up to you to decide. I will not ask you a question, like a true or false question. Global warming is happening because of humans. That kind of question will not be on the test. You're going to have to decide that for yourself. So I'm going to cut these notes short. They're about a little over 8 minutes. Again, please ask if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.